Alrighty. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our webinar, Selecting a Category and Completing Your Entry for the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. My name is Katie Bonner, and I'm the Manager of National Programs here at the Alliance for Young Artists and Writers, the nonprofit organizations that presents the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues today, so I'm going to hand it off to them to introduce themselves. Manny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Manny Blasco. I'm the programs coordinator here at the Scholastic Awards for the remote program. So anyone who's not in a region that has a partner.
Sorry, Manny, I think your audio just cut out.
Is Hadel there?
Hello, everyone. I am Hadel Enriquez. I am the New York City Scholastic Awards manager, and I'm an alum of the awards from 2008. I will be here to support you with any questions that may come up, so please feel free to add them to the Q&A.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. And thanks again to all of you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to be here with you. A couple of notes before we begin. Today's session is being recorded, so don't worry about missing anything. It will be shared over email with everyone who attended tonight. Another note for educators joining us tonight, while today's session is mainly focused on the experience of teens registering a work for the awards, please note that the process for navigating an educator account is similar. So this session will still be helpful. And of course, it will speak to anything that your students are doing. You can find educator video walkthroughs on selecting categories and completing entries at our YouTube channel, and we'll drop the links to that in the chat, Hadel and Manny, if you don't mind providing those. You can also find student-focused video walkthroughs on our YouTube channel as well with helpful resources to review. All right, so let's dive right into our session today. We're going to kick it off with a brief overview of the Scholastic Awards and who is eligible to participate in the awards. Then we're going to spend most of our time focusing on how best to select a category for your work and actually walking through the entry process where you will select the category for your work. If you are attending this webinar, you are in a regional program for art, writing, or both. You can check out which region you are in and your specific deadline for your region directly in your account at artandwriting.org, and we'll take a look together at where to find that in a little bit. Or you can check your school zip code on the My Region page of our website at artandwriting.org. Manny and Hadel, if you don't mind just dropping in the chat the link to the My Region page for folks who want to look up their deadline. Thank you so much. And last but not least, for the last 25 minutes or so, we will have a Q&A session to answer all of your questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. You can find that on the bottom bar of your screen, which should just say Q&A. And we encourage you to upvote each other's questions. So that leads us nicely into a few norms for this webinar. Please, please, please do ask questions. We are here for you. Anything that you want, we want to make sure that we have the chance to answer tonight. And we will do the best that we can to get to your most burning questions. When you're in the question and answer box, you'll see a space where you can type a question, and you can also see other people's questions, and you can vote on those questions. So you can like a question, and that will kind of bump it to the top of the list for us. So we would encourage you, if you see a question that you're dying to know the answer to, rather than ask it a second time, just use that little like button so that we know a lot of people are looking to answer that, and that's how we'll prioritize what we answer later on. You can also use the chat to communicate with each other, drop some advice in, maybe for something you've done before. But to make it easy for us, we do ask that you keep all questions and answers to the chat box. One other item in our norms for today, please, of course, let me know at any time if you cannot see my screen or hear me. And of course, please let me know if you are oh goodness, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, if you're unable to see me at any time, my video should be on. And of course, last but not least, we do have live transcript enabled for tonight's session. If you look on the bottom bar of your screen, you should see an option that says either closed caption or subtitles, and be able to enable those on your screen so that you can follow along more easily. Alrighty, and with that, we are going to jump into learning a little bit about the Scholastic Awards. So the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards is the largest national recognition and scholarship program for creative youth, celebrating the accomplishments of teen artists and writers since 1923. Students in grades 7 through 12, age 13 and above, are invited to submit works to 28 different categories of art and writing for the opportunity to be recognized at both the regional and national level. Some of our illustrious alumni include Shabalala Self, Stephen King, Kay Walking Stick, Charles White, Joyce Carol Oates, Andy Warhol, Lena Dunham, a whole host of other incredible names that you may know from pop culture or American media. In addition to the recognition and exhibition and publication opportunities available for young people entering the awards, the Scholastic Awards does distribute more than $250,000 in direct scholarships annually. And in 2021, we received nearly 230,000 entries for more than 80,000 students across the nation. So you are in good company if you are choosing to enter the Scholastic Awards, and you are sharing your work among some of the most talented young people around the country. And we are so excited when you choose to share your work with us. Just again, quickly to review the eligibility requirements, you do need to be 13 years old at the time of your deadline in order to enter the Scholastic Awards. So if you are currently 12, but you will be 13 on December 6th and your deadline is December 7th, you are good to go. You can definitely enter. Unfortunately, if you turn 13 after your deadline has passed, you can't enter this year, but we encourage you to hang on to your work because we would love to see it next year when you're eligible to participate. I'm going to ask Manny and Hadel, if you don't mind, to please drop the link to the scholarship page in the chat box as well. You can find out more about the scholarships available through the Scholastic Awards at artandwriting.org. And there's a whole bunch of different scholarships available. Some of them everyone is automatically considered for, and other ones ask that you opt in if your work is about a certain theme that pertains to the scholarship. So we really encourage you to explore those if that's something that you're interested in. In terms of how to enter the awards, there are 3 easy steps. The first one, create an account at artandwriting.org. Next, upload a piece of original work to your account. That can be a work of art or writing or multiple pieces. And last but not least, complete your entry by the deadline. Again, deadlines do vary by region, starting December 1. So be sure to check your art and writing deadlines, which may be different, either in your account or on the My Region page of our website at artandwriting.org. Just as a reminder as well about uploading original work, it's imperative to cite all of the works and materials you might have referenced to gather inspiration. We'll go over this in a little bit more detail when we walk through the entry process, but a huge value of us at the awards is that we are seeing your original ideas. So we want to make sure that when we are looking at your work, we know where you're gaining inspiration from and understanding how you've transformed it to really showcase what you're thinking. Please also keep in mind that all entries are digital. So you will need to take pictures of your artwork if you're submitting something that you did, maybe like a drawing or a painting, something that's physically located in your space. For writing, make sure that all of your entries are typed up so that you can submit them online. And of course, when you are completing your entries, you will need to access a PDF that is your entry form. So for some regions, you may need to print that out and mail it in. For others, you may sign it and upload it back to your account. And again, we'll go over what that looks like when we are actually walking through the entry process. A complete entry consists of 3 elements. 1, your uploaded work. 2, your signed entry form. All entry forms must be signed by a student and their parent or guardian. And last but not least, a payment for your work. And your payment can either be a fee waiver form or an actual payment, and the way that payments are accepted may vary by region. So again, we encourage you to log in and create your account so that you can see what's accepted in your region. Entry fees are $7 for an individual entry and $25 for portfolios. Portfolios are only open to seniors. Students in 12th grade may submit a portfolio of 6 works, either 6 artworks or 6 writing works. And you can submit more than 1 portfolio. And again, all other entries are considered individual entries, and those are $7 each. If the fee does pose a barrier to your participation, not a problem. You can access a fee waiver in your account just by clicking a little check box on the payment page that says the fee poses a barrier to my participation, and you'll have access to a fee waiver form, which again, you will have to download and have signed by a parent or guardian. In some regions, you will be asked to re-upload that signed form to your account. In others, you may be asked to mail it in along with your entry form. So just be sure that you are reading your instructions carefully and really paying attention to what it says in your account for how you're going to submit your entry. Alrighty, and with that, we are on to the good stuff, talking about our entry categories, which is the focal point for today's session. So once you are in your account, you've uploaded your work, you will need to select the the category that your work is considered part of. When your work is judged, it will be looked at against works of the same category. So it's important that you really be thoughtful about which category you're choosing. That being said, we know that it can be difficult sometimes to select what you think is the right category for your work and feel really confident in it. A lot of categories maybe blur some lines or be kind of on the edge. So we don't want you to stress too much about it. We encourage you to go through the website and read the category descriptions that might be related to your work to make sure that you're fitting it into the best category possible. If something happens and you end up entering your work in a category that may not actually be the best fit for the work, that's okay. We do the best that we can on our end during the judging process to make sure that your work is moved into the correct category so that it really is looked at along its peers. So we do have 28 categories of art and writing, as we mentioned earlier. Hadel and Manny, if you don't mind dropping the link to our categories page in the chat. We encourage everyone to read through those category descriptions so that, again, you can make sure that your work is entered in the most appropriate category. Selecting the right category is important because, again, your work will be viewed alongside pieces from the same category during judging. Please note that you may enter multiple works in multiple categories. So for example, if I wanted to upload 6 works and enter them in the awards this year, I could enter those works in 6 different categories. But a single work can only be entered once in one category. So if I'm uploading a piece and I'm not sure if it is a humor piece or a personal essay or memoir, I'm going to want to make that decision when I upload it because I can't upload it into both categories. But if I write 2 different pieces, one of them is my personal essay or memoir, and one of them is my humor piece, that I can upload separately, and each of them can be uploaded into separate categories. Again, for seniors, if you're entering an art or writing portfolio, please note that the portfolio consists of 6 works that can come from either one category. So you can enter 6 photographs, 6 film and animation, 6 poems, or they can come from a combination of multiple categories. So you could have a poem, a humor piece, a critical essay, something to really showcase the breadth of your abilities, or something to really showcase a theme that you've been working on. For more information about choosing works to fit into your portfolio, I recommend checking out the panels that we hosted this past spring and last fall with some of our great jurors and partners for both art and writing. So Manny and Hadel, if you don't mind dropping those links in the chat, we have a recording of our art portfolio panel video from this past spring and a recording of our writing portfolio panel video from last fall. And students may enter 2 art portfolios and 2 writing portfolios at the most. For other works, you can enter as many individual works as you want, with the exception of photography. There is a limit on the number of photographs that you can enter, only 16. So you can enter as many works as you want, but you cannot enter more than 16 photographs, and you cannot enter more than 4 portfolios total, 2 art and 2 writing. So now the question is, what if my work doesn't fit easily into a category? What category do I choose? How will that affect my entry for judging? We get this question often, and we have answers for you. So thank you for joining us today. First, we'll talk about the things you should be thinking about if you are entering artworks and then writing works. For artworks, art created with 2 or more different media or artworks that blur the boundaries between categories should be classified by the dominant medium. For example, a drawing completed mostly in pencil with some painted elements should be submitted in the drawing and illustration category. Other artwork category examples include ceramic or glass pieces intended to be worn for personal adornment. That could be submitted to the jewelry category. Digital artwork that may contain text. Some submissions that contain text for commercial purposes should actually be entered in the design category. Others might be entered into the comic art category if you have, for example, a panel with dialogue or something where you're really showing a scene. Digital photographs that are lightly touched up or manipulated using computer software can still be entered into the photography category, but photographs that are heavily doctored or reworked, that have been manipulated or collaged to produce new images should be submitted to the digital art category. The production of digital art relies heavily upon computer software such as Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, GIMP, Macromedia Freehand, CorelDRAW, or other graphics editing programs. Drawing and illustration is art that is composed of marks made with a manual or mechanical instrument on a two-dimensional surface. But sequential illustrations, especially ones that feature panels, should be submitted to the comic art category. Another example of illustrations that may kind of blur lines between categories are those that depict political or social commentary, which could be submitted to the editorial cartoon category. So again, the emphasis here is that we really encourage you to take the time to review the list of category descriptions on our website to decide which most closely reflects your work. And if your work truly falls between two categories or doesn't fit neatly into any, it's your artistic freedom to choose the category that you think best reflects the value of your work. For writing works that blur the boundaries between categories, again, be sure to review the list of category descriptions on the website. For example, if you have, like we said before, a humorous poem that could be entered into either humor or poetry, choose the category that best describes the part of your work that gives it meaning or stands out to you in value. If you feel the humor is what's at the forefront of your piece and that poetry is kind of taking a back seat, then enter it in the humor category. If you feel like the prose in your poem or the form of your poetry is really what gives it its humor or what adds its main value to the meaning that you're conveying, even if it is humorous, it may be better left in the poetry category. You may notice that upon first glance, the flash fiction and short story categories seem similar, and you may not be sure which to enter your writing work to. For this example, take a look at the category guidelines and note the word length for each to see what constitutes a flash fiction piece versus a short story, and then enter your work accordingly based on word count. Another thing to note is that if your short story or flash fiction piece contain key elements of humor or sci-fi and fantasy, then maybe you want to submit those to those more, thematic-based categories instead. Something that's like a little bit of behind-the-scenes knowledge, we actually don't get that many entries compared to some of our other categories for science fiction and fantasy and humor. So again, if your piece straddles the line, those could be great categories to enter it to because it really has a chance to be seen in a way that it may not be seen in a different category where more people are entering pieces with more diverse themes. Please note that certain nonfiction categories, such as critical essay and journalism, may require detailed and formatted citations. So again, that's a theme that we'll keep coming back to today, making sure that you've sourced your work correctly and thoroughly so that it's helpful for us when we're trying to understand where you're coming from and just confirming that your piece is original as you know it is. In addition to the work sources that can be listed in any entry, there's a separate citation section for those nonfiction writing pieces. Critical essay and journalism. And again, word limits do vary depending on category for writing work. So if your work exceeds the word limit of one category, please submit a shortened version of the piece. This comes up a lot in novel writing. Be sure to take a look at the category description for novels to make sure that you have the excerpt that you want to showcase your work, in addition to the summary of your piece, and you do have the option of submitting the full novel. So just make sure that you are taking advantage of every opportunity available to you to share your work and make sure that it's being read by the judges. I know that there are a lot of questions about category descriptions. We're going to come back to those at the end during our Q&A. For now, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and move us forward to take a look at the entry process. So if you want to follow along, we're going to be going to www.artandwriting.org to begin. And while you go there, I'm going to mix up my share screen a little bit here because we're about to look at a new page. So bear with me for a moment if you don't mind. Alrighty. I am sharing my screen again. All right, so everyone should be able to see my screen. Can people see my screen here? It should look like the artandwriting.org website. All right, thank you for confirming that you can see my screen. So when you go to artandwriting.org, whether you have an account or are creating an account for the first time, you're going to click this login button here to be taken to the page where you're going to log into your account. Today, since we're using our little test sandbox to show you some fake works that we've made up that my colleague Manny put together. Thank you, Manny. I'm going to go ahead and use our little sandbox version here, but your URL should say ors.artandwriting.org/login. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. I do not need to save Squidward's login information. Can everyone still see the ORS page, sorry, the registration page? Okay, thank you. I'm seeing some yeses that you can see my screen. Alrighty, so with that, let's dive in. So first things first, up in the corner here, you can see your upcoming deadlines. You'll notice that for Squidward has the same deadline for art and writing. You may have different deadlines for art and writing. So just be sure to keep track of what those are in your region. If you don't see your deadlines when you log in, that is because you have not yet completed your profile. So we're going to start by going and taking a look at Squidward Tentacles' profile here. Let's see here. Where am I? I'm going to, it's right there, edit profile. Sorry, everybody, I'm a little rusty. So I click the edit profile button and I can see here all of my personal information. Everything with the star is required to fill out before you can upload any work. So be sure your profile is complete. Even if your work isn't ready, this is an easy step that you can take care of now to make sure that you are ready to upload your work before your deadline. So here I have my first name, last name, my mailing address, my city, state, and zip code, my date of birth, my grade level, some basic contact information, some information about myself, my parent or guardian's contact information. Great, my profile is complete. I'm now ready to take a look at my school. So the school is really important because this is how you are sorted into your regions. Your region is based on the zip code of the school that you're in. If you're attending a virtual school, so for example, I live in Pennsylvania, but I'm going to an online school based out of DC, my region is going to be assigned based on my home zip code so that I'm being awarded with people physically located near where I am. If you are homeschooled, there is a box that you can check when you go to select your school where you can just click, yes, I am homeschooled. And again, your region will be assigned based on your home zip code. So because my school is all filled in here, I do have my region information already. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my dashboard where I can see some of my entries. So from your main dashboard, you'd normally begin by clicking the blue Add Work button. But to save time today, we're just going to walk through a work that's already been uploaded and see what each completed step looks like. Quick note, if you are in 12th grade, you'll also see an option to upload an art and writing portfolio button, which you'll see down here, Add Art Portfolio, Add Writing Portfolio, and that will be right underneath your Add Work button. For now, we're just going to walk through the process of uploading a single individual art or writing entry, but we can look back at portfolios if there's interest and we have some time. So after you click Add Work, this will bring you to a new page where you will enter a title for your work and select art or writing. And just to give us an example, I'm going to go ahead and click on the edit button for artwork number 1. So on this first page here, let's see. Let me go back to a work where I have not yet uploaded all of my information here. My critical essay. Ooh. Well, you can see from the page that we're editing here. I'll just go to the Add Work page very quickly so that you can see. So you can type in your basic info and select what type of work it is. So this is where you're actually going to select the category that your work is going to be reviewed in. So for me today, I'm going to upload a photograph, and my work title is Monkey. And I'm going to go to my school where I'm going to see a list of educators in my school. Important, if you do not have an educator in your school in this list, that's okay. You'll just click this Add a New Educator button, and you'll be able to put in their first name, last name, and email address. And you can select whether or not they're part of your school. If you participate in an extracurricular program, you can add that in your profile as well as another educational program. And when you are selecting your educator, you'll see another checkbox down here where you can say, they're not part of my school, but they are part of my after-school program that I participate in, and check that box. My educator's here, so I'm just going to select Mr. Krabs, my favorite teacher, and move right along to the copyright and plagiarism policy. So we encourage you to actually click through this and read through the copyright and plagiarism guides to make sure that your work is not in violation of the copyright and plagiarism guidelines, and make sure that you've really taken care to, again, review your sources and make sure that your piece is original. Once you have read that, check this box, I have read and understand the Alliance's copyright and plagiarism policy, and move on to your upload. Here in your upload, you're going to go through some steps to select your work sources. So for me, I'm going to say that my work is based on an image from the internet, and my work is based on an Instagram account about capybaras that I really like, and I decided to take a picture of a monkey that looks like that capybara. So I would usually, I don't know how to spell capybara, but I'm just going to take a guess and leave that as is. Usually I would copy and paste the URL in there if I had it available. If I wasn't doing this in a hurry, I would take my time and actually go back to the Instagram account and copy and paste it in, so that when jurors are reviewing my work and they see my work sources, they can see that I got inspiration from this Instagram account about capybaras, but that my piece is actually completely different and original. I have just gotten inspiration from the style of work that they're doing. Next, I'm going to put in my dimensions for the work. And my work materials, I used a digital camera, and I'm going to tag it, it's a monkey. And then I'm going to upload my file. Let's see here. Oh, look at that, all that. Oh, here's my monkey. And great, I have a picture of a monkey on to featured scholarships. This is where you can read through and determine whether or not you want to opt into some of those thematic scholarships that we mentioned earlier. So this part is the same for art and writing. Much of this process is mirrored between art and writing. The only difference is that you are importing text instead of an image of your work for writing versus art. So here I would read through the different scholarships and decide whether or not I would like to apply for one. If you do want to apply, simply check that, click that link here, click here for more information or to apply, check the box, and then you'll be asked to put in a statement about how your work applies to the theme of that scholarship and why it should be considered, what it means to you, why you think that it should be a part of this scholarship. After you select which scholarships you want your work to be considered for, if any, you go ahead and click this review button. And now you're taken to the same page where we were at the beginning, where you can see all of the details about your work, and you can also access the information for your entry form and your payment. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Squidward's dashboard here so that you can see what a completed entry looks like. So back at artwork number 1, if we click edit here, we can see again all of the details that we just filled out about our artwork, and we can also access our registration forms. So we would simply click download PDF or print, either button works, to get a copy of your PDF. If I don't have access to a printer, not a big deal. I'm going to click this link here. How can I sign my form without a printer? And I'll be taken to a page with tips on different softwares that I can use, different hacks, how I can sign it from my phone, all kinds of options to meet you where you're at with the technology that you have to make sure that you and your parent or guardian can sign your entry form. Then once my entry form is signed, I just click this upload submission form button and I add back in the PDF or the picture of my signed form. If you're in a region that only accepts mail-in forms, you'll be able to just get the address straight from your account or in the top right corner of your form, put it in an envelope and send it right in. I'm going to go back to my dashboard here where we can actually take a look at all of my submission forms and payments that I've uploaded so far. So we can see here that my submission form has not yet been uploaded, nor have I paid for the work yet. Not a problem, we can do that right now. So I'm gonna print my submission form, except I'm not really gonna print it because I don't have a printer. I get the PDF, I would download the PDF, sign it, and again, for the sake of speed, I'm just going to upload a PDF that I have signed and ready to go. Alrighty. And now when I go back to my dashboard, I will see that a form has been uploaded for artwork number 1. For payment, you can check the box next to the work that you want to pay for. And then at the bottom of your screen here, depending on the payment statuses, the payment options in your region, you'll either be able to pay on PayPal, pay with a different external payment platform. So those are all places where you can pay with a credit card, or you'll check the box pay by check and you'll get a little tally here of how much you owe for that check payment. And you can just mail that in. Again, if the submission fee poses a barrier to your participation, just check this box here and you will be able to download a fee waiver form. And it's as simple as downloading it, signing it in the same way that you do your entry form, and either mailing it in or re-uploading it to your account. Very quickly, just to take a look at your portfolios here. So let's say we were uploading, let's quickly look at a writing piece. So let's say we were uploading our writing piece. Again, you will see all of the same information that we just went through for an artwork here, my work sources, my educator and school information, my options to download a PDF, or my submission form, or my fee waiver form, yada, yada, all that's in there. But you'll see that here you have written text instead of an uploaded image, and that will be in the same place for your uploaded image. And now to look quickly at a portfolio, you can see here that we've selected 6 different artworks to live in our portfolio. Let's say I didn't want to enter this one anymore, but I wanted to enter the monkey instead. I would simply drag and drop all of my uploaded pieces to decide which is going to be in my portfolio. You can select up to 3 educators for every work that you're entering, whether it be a portfolio or an individual entry. You would type in your personal statement and your artist statement for your portfolio, and that's that. All right, so that was, I know, a super quick look through the entry process. I'm going to take us back to our slideshow for a minute to make sure that we have time to get into our Q&A. And then I would be happy to revisit any questions that you have from that process. All right, can everybody see the slides again on my screen? Great, thank you. So very quickly before we get into our Q&A, some important dates to keep in mind. Entry deadlines do vary by region, but they begin starting on December 1st. So we only have, for most of your regions, about 1 month, maybe a little bit less to the deadline. Yay, very exciting. We highly suggest that you finalize your entries before your deadline, because close to the deadline, a lot of people are really trying to get in their entries, and the system can get overloaded and start moving really slowly. So we encourage you to prepare in advance, at least fill out your profile information, have all of that other info about your work ready to go in your head so that when you upload it, you can just check all those boxes, fill out your work sources, fill out your materials, all of that jazz, make it very easy on yourself so that you are not scrambling and stressed right before the deadline, when again, just being realistic, our system will probably be functioning more slowly than you see it functioning right now. Since everyone will be online at the same time. After that point, your work is in our hands. We will be processing entries and getting back in touch with you after judging has been completed. So regional awards notifications can happen anytime after your entry deadline, and those again will vary by region. I recommend that you look at your region's webpage, which is located in the right side panel of your account, to see when they plan on announcing regional awards in your area. But everyone will know whether or not they received an award come January 28th when you log into your account and you're able to access the results of your award. All students who receive our top regional award, the Gold Key, are automatically considered for national awards, and they will go on to be judged against other Gold Keys throughout the month of February, where they will have the chance to receive a national silver medal, gold medal, or a direct scholarship. And they will be notified of the outcome of national awards on March 23rd. So keep an eye out for those if you receive a Gold Key. And last but not least, students who receive a gold medal at the national level or a direct scholarship are invited to join us for a celebration and ceremony on June 9th. A little bit TBD, but that has been in New York City in the past. Last year, it was, of course, virtual due to COVID. So keep an eye out to make sure that you know what's going to be online this year and what's going to be in person. And that's true of your regional celebrations as well. All regional winners, honorable mention, silver key, and gold key are celebrated locally with either a ceremony, an exhibition, both, or an online celebration. So keep an eye out for what is happening in your region to celebrate you. And last but not least, some links to help you learn more. Thank you all so much again for joining us today. Please visit these resources for more information about the program, and always feel free to email us at info@artandwriting.org with questions, or to email your local region directly if you find their contact information on the regional webpage that is linked on the right side panel of your account. We've also created a series of step-by-step videos to help students and educators navigate their accounts and complete their entries. Manny and Hadel, if you don't mind, again, just dropping the links to the student playlist and educator playlist from YouTube in the chat box. And now, before we switch over to our Q&A portion of the webinar, I'd like to encourage you all to take a minute and type in any additional questions you have. We are going to try to get through as many as we can, but any that we don't, feel free to email us afterwards. And we will follow up again with a recording of this webinar over email so that you can rewatch for anything you might have missed. Alrighty, and with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and check in with Manny and Hadel. How are we doing in the Q&A?
Doing great. We have a ton of questions here. If we're ready, we can hop in. So our first question is, what is the work tag? I was required to enter that in the box when I upload my work.
That's a great question. Thanks, Manny. So the work tag is just a way where you can kind of, it's kind of like metadata about your work. I don't know if you ever search for websites and you see something pops up and they're like, this might be related to your work. It's just to help us know what your work is about. So for example, if you are creating a work about personal loss or grief, maybe that's a tag that you'll put in your work tags. If, like me, you were creating a work about monkeys or animals, maybe you'll put that in your work tag. It's just helpful information for us so that when we are looking for works for, a certain image, as you know, we love to share your work. So if we are looking for a quote about a certain topic from a piece of writing, or if we are looking for an image that goes with a certain theme that we're going to be talking about, or a place on the website where it would fit really well, that's helpful for us to be able to see quickly what your work is about and find it. Any other questions? I see some here in the Q&A box, so I'm just going to jump in. And Manny and Hadel, please jump in if I'm going in the wrong order.
Perfect. I was just going to say, one of our most popular questions is, can you submit in multiple categories and or multiple times in the same category?
Thank you, Hadel. Great question. So you can submit multiple works to multiple categories. And what I mean by that is if you're uploading 10 pieces to enter, you can enter them in 10 different categories. You can upload all 10 works in the same category. Again, the only restrictions on that are you cannot upload more than 16 pieces of photography. So I can upload 16 photographs and enter them as individual photography pieces. I can also upload 10 poems and 12 drawing and illustration pieces. All of that is a-okay. You cannot upload more than 2 writing portfolios, and you cannot upload more than 2 art portfolios. So that part's just for seniors there. You cannot enter a single work in multiple categories. So you can upload, again, 10 different pieces, enter them in 10 different categories. I can't upload the same piece twice and put it in a different category each time. One work can only be uploaded once and only be put in one category. It looks like the next question on our list is how many entries are allowed per participant to submit in art and writing. So again, no limit on the number of entries that can be entered per person, with the exception of photography, where the cap is 16 photographs, and portfolios, where you're capped at 2 art and 2 writing portfolios. So at most 4 portfolios, 2 in art, 2 in writing. Next on the list here, I see a question, do we have to write a description or statement for art awards? Great question. Some categories do ask that you write about your work. So for example, in portfolios for seniors, you are asked to provide both a personal statement and an artist or writer statement. I encourage you to read through the category description to really make sure you understand what the difference between those 2 statements are, because it's just a chance, again, for you to showcase more about yourself, more about your work. And they'll be read with different intentions in mind. So just make sure that you understand what you're putting in which, either the personal statement or the artist or writer statement. For most works, a statement is not required. There are some categories, again, where you have an option to put one in or it is required, such as portfolios. The exception to when statements are or are not required is, of course, for scholarships. If you want to enter a scholarship, such as the One Earth Award, the New York Life Award, or Pacific Expression Award, those are just some examples of the thematic scholarships available. You will be asked to provide a statement about your piece and how it connects to that theme and scholarship. The next question I see here, what levels are the awards split into, regional, national, etc.? Great question. So every work is first reviewed at the regional level. And regions vary in size based on the area that you're in. So in some areas, your region might be a few counties, in some it might be the whole state. In some areas, you may be in just one city. For example, our New York City program serves only the students in New York City. And then there's another program that serves students in counties around New York City. So first year works are reviewed at that regional level, and that is when they are awarded either an honorable mention, silver key, or gold key, or if anything, and they're also nominated to be considered for one of the national awards, an American Voices or American Visions Award. That all happens at the regional level. Again, regional awards are announced by January 28th. It may be earlier in your region. And then gold key awarded works are go on to be considered for national awards. And that's where they are looked at for silver medals, gold medals, and the scholarships that they have opted into. And there are some automatic scholarships that students are, everyone's considered for example, the Best in Grade Award. Everyone who receives a gold medal from a specific grade is considered for the Best in Grade Award without you having to opt in, and that does come with a scholarship. So those are kind of the 2 big levels of the awards, regional, then national. Another great question here, what are judges looking for in fictional writing? That's a tough one because I really think it varies based on category to a degree as well. Judges are looking for the ideas and innovation that you're putting forward. Originality and expression of a personal voice or vision is incredibly important in the awards. There are 3 core judging criteria that every work is looked at within mind. So you'll be, when someone's reading your work or looking at your artwork, they will be thinking about, again, originality, emergence of a personal voice or vision, and technical skill. So a few things matter that judges are looking for. A little bit form. They want to make sure that you're communicating your ideas in a way that they can understand, and that they are really that they're able to follow along with your story. If you're writing a piece of fiction, they want to know that, you know, they're in the story with you. And of course, innovation, originality, and what kinds of ideas you're putting forward that let them get to know you. Hadel and Manny, I don't know if you have anything to add to that question.
I don't, but I did add a YouTube link with some juror feedback, which I encourage everyone to watch to see exactly what our jurors are looking for.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hadel. That also reminds me that next Thursday, we have an event coming up. We have a panel with some of our jurors where we'll be asking them what they look for in pieces of art and writing. So we definitely encourage you all to attend that. Manny and Hadel, if you don't mind dropping the link to register for next Thursday's webinar in the chat, everyone is welcome to join us. Another question here, who should I contact if I have questions after this workshop? You can email us at info@artandwriting.org. I would also encourage you to check out artandwriting.org. We have a great FAQ with a lot of information and many of the links that we would be sharing via email anyway. So I'm going to drop the link to artandwriting.org's frequently asked questions here in the chat. And if all else fails, you can email us at info@artandwriting.org. Our next question here, do you have to have an educator review your work, even if you worked on it independently outside of school? So everyone is required to list an educator on their work. An educator does not need to be someone, one of your teachers in school. It can be somebody from your after school program. It can be kind of an informal mentor who you work on your art and your writing with, or it can be any other trusted adult in your life. We really do encourage you to share your work with whoever it is you choose to list as the educator in your account. That can be, again, just a trusted adult in your life, anybody who you trust to value your work and be able to offer you helpful feedback and really be able to help you through the entry process. Again, there's a lot of signatures required. There's some payment or fee waiver forms required. It can be a lot to take on, and I know that you can all handle it, but you know, I'll be the first to admit, or I'm not the first to admit that it can be confusing in places and there are a lot of instructions. So it could be helpful just to have an educator, whoever you deem to be your educator, sit by your side as you're going through the entry process and help you navigate it. In addition to being helpful through the entry process, having an adult who you trust look over your work is extremely beneficial in just checking again for those copyright and plagiarism guidelines. Making sure that you have properly cited your sources, being a second set of eyes to say, hey, this sentence sounds really similar to that article that you referenced here. Maybe let's rephrase it. I know that for myself as a writer, I can be blind to that sometimes, especially when I may copy the tone of someone who I've been reading a lot, or even start to copy their syntax. So it can be helpful to have a second set of eyes on your piece, whether it is art or writing, just to make sure that it is original and that you're communicating your ideas originally. Our next question here. Oh, thank you, Hadel, for sharing in the chat the Zoom link for our upcoming juror webinar. So again, if anyone wants to register, that's sitting in the chat here, and it is next Thursday, November 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will be joined by jurors and partners from around the country who have extensive experience looking at art and writing from Scholastic Award participants over the years. So they will have a lot more specific advice than I could offer tonight, or than we could offer tonight about what judges look for in your entries. Our next question here, if a participant is interested in a category but not taking a course through school, how should they select an educator? So again, an educator can be any trusted adult in your life. Even if you did not create the piece with this person, choose an adult who you feel comfortable sharing your work with and navigating the entry process with. Even if an adult did help you with your work and they're just not an adult through school, that's totally fine. You can still list them as an educator. Maybe they're through an after school program, which you'll reference as another educational program in your account, in your profile. Our next question here, what are the awards looking for in terms of the journalism category? That is a really great question. I don't know that I have a sufficient answer for you. I would definitely recommend reading through the category description. Something that I know we are looking for is work that really pulls on what's out there in the world while still offering some perspective. So again, that concept of originality and emergence of a personal voice. If you're writing a piece of journalism, just make sure that you have your own perspective in the piece, even if it's still objective. Hadel, do you have anything to add to that?
Sorry, finding my unmute. No, I think like you mentioned, reviewing the category description is really going to support you in figuring out exactly what jurors are looking for. And then reviewing some of the other juror feedback YouTube series and joining us next week will really get a sense of exactly what jurors are asking from you.
Yeah, thank you, Hadel. Agreed. I think that next week's session will be really helpful for those types of questions if anyone wants to join us again then. Another question about the role of teachers and educators. Can I submit an entry even if my teacher does not participate in the Scholastic Awards? Yes, you can list anyone who you trust as an adult in your life as the educator on your work. They do not need to be your teacher. And if your teacher does not have the whole class participate, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't be interested in being your the educator credited on your work in the award. So be sure to ask them if that's a process that they'd be willing and interested in going through with you. You are able to participate on your own. You do not need a teacher to sit next to you while you do it. This is, of course, about you and your work, but if you're able to involve them so that you just have another support system going through the process with you, great. A question here about paying for entries. What if you don't have PayPal, but your region requires you to pay through PayPal? That is a-okay. So when you go to pay for your work through PayPal, you'll have the option to pay as a guest. I think that the language might look a little bit different these days. It might not say pay as guest. It might just say pay with email address. And you can just input your email address and complete your payment without logging into a PayPal account. If you have more questions about that, or if you get stuck on a particular screen, email us with where you are in the process or a screenshot of where you got stuck, and we can help you get through it. So again, that's email us at info@artandwriting.org. And again, the links that Hadel and Manny dropped in the chat earlier to those instructional YouTube videos are incredibly helpful. They walk through what the payment process looks like and what next steps you can take once you get to the PayPal screen. Our next question here, what period entries are awarded gold and silver keys and honorable mention? So that is all done in the regional awards. So at the regional level, works are awarded honorable mention, silver key, and gold key awards. And then those gold keys are considered for national medals, which include silver medals, gold medals, and scholarships. For Canadian, another question here, for Canadian participants, would regions be narrowed to provinces? At this time, Canada is all one region, but we are always looking for partners to help us break that down. So right now the Canada region is, again, considered one big region because we don't have a lot of partners around the country to help us run smaller programs, but we would love to do that. So if you know of any schools or colleges or universities or museums or libraries in your area that might be interested in hosting a regional Scholastic Awards, or who you think would just be a fun place to have an exhibition and a ceremony and you would love to see your work up there, let us know, and that's something that we can definitely look into. And again, you can let us know by emailing us at info@artandwriting.org. Our next question here, will we be penalized or disqualified if we put art in the wrong category as per our judgment? You will not be penalized or disqualified for putting your work in the wrong category. To the best of our ability, we will try to move your work into the right category, and jurors are encouraged to look at the work that's in front of them and judge it based on its own merits. That all being said, one natural thing that may come up as part of the process, if we are not able to identify your work as being in the wrong category and the jurors sitting in front of it are really more equipped to look at works from a specific other medium. So for example, if you accidentally enter a photograph in a drawing and illustration category, the jurors looking at it may all be illustrators. And so they may not really have the same eye for photography as the jurors on the photography panel have. So it is not, you're not being penalized, you're not being punished for it, but there is of course a chance that your work won't be looked at in the same way that it would in the photography category. So to the best of our ability, we will move it into the right category to make sure that it gets in front of the eyes of those jurors who know the medium best and can really provide the best feedback on it. But if that doesn't happen, that's okay. Your work is not disqualified. And again, if you are working with a work that kind of straddles the line of more than one category, chances are there's going to be other works like that in the category that you select. Nothing fits exactly into one box, or very few pieces do. So don't stress about it too much. Just select the category that, for your best judgment, is most appropriate for your work. Our next question, how many submissions are allowed per scholarship? There is no limit on that. So if, for example, you are looking to enter the Herb Block Award for editorial cartoon, and you upload 15 editorial cartoons to your account and enter them all in the Scholastic Awards, you can opt each one of those editorial cartoons into the Herb Block Award for editorial cartoon. If you have a piece that fits the theme of more than one scholarship, for example, an editorial cartoon piece that has a lot of social and political commentary could also be eligible for the Civic Expression Award. You can select multiple scholarships for a single work. So on that scholarship page that we looked at earlier, you would just check the box for all of the scholarships that you want that single piece to be considered for, and write the statement for each of those pieces. Our next question, can your portfolio contain more than one work of the same type, and does the portfolio have to have 6 works, or can it have less? A portfolio cannot have fewer than 6 works. It must have 6 works, no more, no less. But you can have works from either all the same category or different categories. You could have 4 photos, 2 paintings, 6 photos, 1 painting, 1 drawing, 1 illustration, 1 film and animation, onwards and upwards. All of that is at your discretion based on what you think best showcases your talent and your range. Our next question, I want to draw multiple drawings for my entry. So is there a limit on how many drawings we can do for one entry? Let's see. I don't know if I'm interpreting the question correctly. It sounds like if there are multiple drawings that don't necessarily go together, like for example, if you have a lookbook of multiple portraits, each of those portraits should be entered separately. So you can enter, maybe you have 8 different drawings and illustrations, those should all be entered as individual pieces. If you have a single drawing and illustration that is maybe supposed to be a collage, and it just has a lot of small figures in it, you can definitely upload that as one piece. So for example, looking behind me, I have kind of like a triptych up here. I have seen this done in multiple ways. Maybe I want to enter them all together because I think thematically that is a stronger way to showcase the message that I'm trying to get across. All of these images go together, and that's what illustrates this message that I'm conveying. I'm going to take one picture of all of those pieces together. If I want the works to be considered separately because they don't necessarily have anything in common, they're just 3 pieces that are the same size that I like to put up next to each other, I'll take a picture of each of them individually and submit them as 3 individual entries. Something important to note is that judges don't know who you are. They don't know whose piece they're looking at, and they don't know who entered the same pieces. So if you have any works that you think are stronger together and should be considered side by side, be sure that you're entering them as one piece so that they are looked at side by side. Otherwise, they won't know that they're all yours, and they won't be able to see the strength of the message that you're conveying through those pieces as a series. And I know that we are just at our time limit here. I'm going to take one more question before we go over just, again, some more resources to check us out. So Hadel and Manny, do you have any questions that came up a lot that we haven't answered yet?
I've been trying to answer most of the questions in the Q&A, but I do see here that one of the other most popular questions is if you could provide information of how the works are reviewed and who reviews them. Another greater question.
Great, thank you. So who is reviewing these works? Judges come from around the country. Some of them will be local to the area that you're in. Sometimes they're looking at your work from very far away. They are a whole host of different people. We have judges who are teachers, former teachers, artists, current practicing writers, published authors, editors, people who hang galleries, exhibition experts, all in all down the line to just people who are really big appreciators and students of the arts and who know what they're looking for. So jurors are all people who are familiar with the medium, the category that your work is being entered in, and they will be looking at your work with their understanding of that genre or medium that you're entering your work as part of. And what they're looking for when they review your work, again, there are 3 core criteria that judges look at when they are judging. It is originality, emergence of a personal voice or vision, and technical skill. So judges are really looking for those 3 elements when they are evaluating any piece. And actually, we do have a blog post up right now that shows our writing rubric. So if you want some more information on how judges are considering your work, I encourage you to take a look here at the writing rubric. And this again lists the 3 core criteria that both art and writing works are looked at. That's originality, technical skill, and emergence of a personal vision or voice. And again, even though this rubric is specifically for writing, those 3 criteria also pertain to art entries. So that's how judges are reviewing all of the works that come before them. And again, all adjudications are anonymous, so they do not know whose work they're looking at. So they don't know anything about you as an artist or a writer or a student or who you are when they're looking at your piece. They're really just looking at the piece for it to speak for itself. All right. And with that, Hadel and Manny, I toss it back to you. Any final burning questions that you think we should get to before we hop off?
I think we got to a lot of our questions, but I will add the link to our FAQ. And if there are more questions that come up, please feel free to send them to info@artandwriting.org.
Great, thank you, Hadel. And I see another question in the chat about, is this session recorded? Yes, this session was recorded and the recording will be shared out over email. So don't worry, if you missed anything, you will have the chance to watch it back later. And again, please do check out our FAQ for any questions that we didn't get to today. I am so sorry that we ran out of time, everyone. Thank you so much for taking this evening or afternoon, depending on where you are, to hang out with us. We really appreciate you being here with us again tonight or this afternoon. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening. We hope to see your work in the awards this year. All right, thanks everyone, bye.